July 2026 has some of the most intense astrology of our lifetime, and you need to be prepared for it. The main event is a minor grand trine between Uranus in Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius, and Neptune in Aries. This is the configuration that's been building all throughout 2026. We actually got a sneak preview of this energy at the end of summer 2025 in like August, September 2025. And this energy will continue unfolding throughout 2027 and 2028. But 2026 is when it's at its peak. So what does this mean? Well, the new world is finally here, but not everything's set in stone. We have to learn to have agency in a world that is confusing and chaotic, to preserve our humanity in the face of unprecedented technological advancement. July 2026 is extremely positive, but it's not naive positive. This month is all about possibility, innovation, and choosing how we want to participate in the next era. Before we get into it, if you're into astrological predictions, civilizational turning points, and the spiritual implications of technology, definitely subscribe to this channel because that's what I talk about here. Or follow me on whatever is your preferred platform. But let's just start with some context. Why is 2026 such a big year? Let's rewind to February 20th, 2026, when we had our first big event, which was the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. This is the first degree of the zodiac, the new beginning of all new beginnings, the reset of all resets. When Saturn and Neptune meet up, the conversation is about reality versus illusion. It's about real-world structures versus idealism. The question is asked, can you dream a new dream? What is possible? In the 2026 overview video that I posted in December 2025, I talked a lot about the Soviet Union and Russia in the context of that conjunction. Because historically, Saturn-Neptune conjunctions have correlated with major events in the Soviet Union. 2 Saturn-Neptune conjunctions ago, we saw the death of Joseph Stalin and the subsequent de-Stalinization of the Soviet Union. And then the previous Saturn-Neptune conjunction, we saw the fall of the Soviet Union. When you think about this in the context of reality versus illusion, dreaming a new dream, trying things that have never been tried before, perhaps with a hint of idealism, I think the Soviet Union fits these themes very well, and it exemplifies the transit. The Soviet Union basically asked, can the technocratic oligarchs plan a centrally controlled society and have that work for an entire civilization? Let's keep this question in mind as we look at the current conjunction and 2026. Looking back, I now believe that February 2026 was the pre-AI, post-AI civilizational marker. For those who have already integrated AI into their workflow or into their lives in some way, my guess is that around February 2026, you had a transition from asking the AI, hey, how can I do this? Can you explain it to me? To, hey, can you go do this for me and report back? That's a really big shift, and I'm sure that anyone who's using AI agents knows exactly what I'm talking about. One possible version of an AI future looks a lot like the initial experiment that the Soviet Union tried. What if an incredibly smart, centralized system could plan everything, control everything, and make all our decisions for us? And so I think with this conjunction, we saw not only the emergence of a new way of working or a new technology, but potentially an entirely new financial, civilizational, and mythological system. So things started in February, but July is, in my opinion, when they really start to crystallize and we see what this new beginning actually is. The famous French astrologer André Barbeau once said that 2026 was the beginning of the new civilization. And he had a very strong track record in terms of predictions. He predicted that in 2020 there would be a global pandemic. He also predicted the fall of the Soviet Union decades before it happened. And in the last years of his life, he focused a lot on July 2026 as the relaunch of a new civilization. And his take was extremely positive. He called it the most beautiful alignment of the 21st century, and that with it, the new age will have begun. Barbeau died in 2019, so he never lived to see some of his iconic predictions come to fruition. And in his absence, many astrologers have argued about the highly positive interpretation of the alignment in July 2026. They question whether it should be viewed in this kind of like new age spirituality, love and light, dawning of the Age of Aquarius perspective, or if we should view it as the beginning of a dystopic, surveillance, technological state. And if you know me, you know that I'm going to say it's a little bit of both. So let's get into it. Let's actually talk about the specific things that are happening so that we can piece together the story from the ground up. So in July 2026, we have a minor grand trine between Uranus in Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius, and Neptune in Aries. Let's break down each of these energies individually. Starting with Uranus in Gemini. This is new ideas, fast flow of information. technological breakthroughs, especially in language and communication. So this to me indicates LLMs. Basically, Uranus in Gemini is doing a lot of talking, throwing out ideas left and right, and seeing what sticks. On the other side, we have Pluto in Aquarius. This is a transformative death and rebirth of civilization, and it's a transformation through technology. The power structure is moving into networks, systems, and machine intelligence. So Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini both have this very strong technological angle, and these form the foundation of the minor grand trine. I would say the primary distinction between these two energies is if Uranus in Gemini is just like throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks, Pluto in Aquarius has this like secret dark plan that it's revealing slowly over time. And in the middle of those two energies, at the top of the pyramid, we have Neptune in Aries. This is the individual dream, the spiritual warrior, the question of identity in a rapidly changing world. Neptune in Aries is basically asking, who am I and what is my dream? And where do I, as an individual, fit into this crazy technological future? I want to point out another aspect that's perfecting during this time in July, and that's Jupiter in Leo, which is opposing Pluto in Aquarius. Jupiter in Leo is about healthy ego. We are the main characters in our own story, and we grow through honesty and loyalty to the self. So Pluto in Aquarius might have its plan for what's going to happen to everyone in society, but the collective is still made up of individuals, and Jupiter in Leo reminds us that at the end of the day, you do have self-sovereignty and you have self-control. So I think the central conversation is something like Uranus and Gemini on one side is saying, hey, here's a bunch of new ideas, here's new technology, new communication, new languages. And then Pluto in Aquarius on the other side is saying, I'm going to transform the collective whether you like it or not. And then Neptune in Aries at the top says, where do I fit in as a human being? And then we have Jupiter in Leo on the side saying, hey, I think Pluto kind of might be a bad guy and we should probably lean into our individual a little bit more. It's interesting because the supportive forces on either side of the trine are collective and technological. They have more to do with society, but the peak of the structure, that Neptune and Aries point, is deeply personal and individual. And so my personal interpretation of this trine is that you're not supposed to be passive in the face of extreme technological transformation. The point of these new technological advancements that are being introduced into society is for you to figure out how to use them as an individual to dream your new dream world. Don't forget your agency. You have a lot of personal agency at a time like this when there's so many tools at your disposal. And also, don't let your woes about society or the future, the collective, cause you to abandon what you want for yourself as an individual. The big philosophical theme of this is around agency, humanity, and technology. And so I think it's important to ask yourself, what aspects of your humanity do you actually want to preserve? And what are you willing to give up in exchange for superhuman capabilities? And I don't mean this in some sort of philosophical collective way. I mean this very personally. Let's start with the body. Do you want to take experimental miracle drugs that slow down aging or prevent you from becoming overweight? Or how about your social life? Do you want to have friends that you love, that you deeply connect with, but they live in a lot of different places and so you only talk to them online? And how about work? Do you want to just let AI do it all? Is there something of value that you can even add in the equation anymore? These are the types of questions that we're facing all the time, but we're not necessarily asking them aloud to ourselves. My advice is to avoid going to extremes when you're trying to answer these questions. One extreme would be blindly giving yourself over to technology, to surveillance, optimizing everything, prioritizing efficiency over everything, and you lose out on some of the flavor of a human experience. The other extreme would be going full Luddite, saying, fuck technology, I'm pretending this isn't happening and I'm going to refuse to participate in this world. And you're going to get left behind if that's the case. And you'll find that the world looks more and more unfamiliar to you. The middle path is that technology can create abundance. Technology has the capability of freeing people. But we have to consciously choose the future that we want to participate in. Now let's get into the chronological transits of July. And if you want to know how any of this is showing up for you personally, I do one-on-one personal readings of natal chart astrology. You can click the link in my bio to book. Just want to throw that out there if it's helpful, but regardless, let's go through the transits. So we actually have a ton of important transits that are happening in the last days of June. So I just want to start with that so we can set the stage for how July is unfolding. On June 29th, we've got a full moon in Capricorn and Mercury goes retrograde. And then on June 30th, Jupiter enters Leo. So we start off July with a tone shift from Cancer season, which is kind of like summertime sadness, more personal and emotional, to Leo's performative, creative main character energy. We're still in Cancer season, but astrologically speaking, we're kind of like starting Leo season a month early. On July 1st, Jupiter in Leo squares Chiron in Taurus. Jupiter enters Leo and it immediately gets into it, and it's poking at some of your core wounds. If we're going to be doing some big things in July, the first day kicks it off with some tough questions. How's my confidence? Does being visible make me feel insecure? What's being brought up as I get more attention, as I put myself out there more? On July 7th, Neptune stations retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries, so now Pluto and Neptune are both retrograde. They've both covered new territory, and now that they're retrograding, they're reworking and reviewing some of the grounds that they've already established. It's not a reversal of what they've done, it's more like a review process. So in Neptune's case, it's, oh geez, did we just rush into some dream that we actually didn't want or we weren't prepared for? Where do we need to edit and rework some of the details to actually make this brand new dream happen? On July 9th, Venus enters Virgo. Virgo is the sign after Leo, and it brings some discernment to Leo's big out there energy. So with all this Leo energy that's starting to build, it's good to have Venus in Virgo to make things a little bit practical. This is a good time to refine your routines, to clean up your relationships, and to work on the practical aspects of self-care. Don't just dream big, put it into your life on a day-to-day level. On July 10th, we have the North Node sextile Chiron. A lot of the transits in early July are kind of a push-pull between, oh my gosh, this is the new world, this is my new idea, and I'm so excited to get started on it, it's amazing. And oh my God, I'm not ready to give that up. Oh my God, the world is changing. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be a part of this. July 10th is a good day to sit down and just be like, okay, what's actually here? What's the actual dream that's coming in that feels practical, that I actually think is aligned with where things are going, that I want to put my effort into? And then conversely, am I afraid of giving certain things up just because I have nostalgia or a fear of change? July 10th is a good day to ask yourself some of those tough questions. Then on July 14th, we have the new moon in Cancer. If you are into manifestation, this is the day to use in July for whatever you want to manifest. This new moon is soft and emotional, and it's more personal compared to the big societal level outer planet transits that are going on the rest of the month. And it kicks off the window where the minor grand trine is perfected, which is July 15th through 25th. July 14th is a good day to ask yourself things like, how do you want your dream future to feel? Can you feel it now? Can you connect with it right now? And can you feel emotionally safe through this process of transformation? Can you feel at home in yourself, regardless of what's going on outside of you? And then on July 15th, we have the first leg of the minor grand trine come into perfection with Uranus in Gemini sextiling Neptune in Aries. Starting on July 15th, we have the perfection window that plays out over a 10-day period from July 15th to July 25th. This is what I've been talking about for the whole first part of the video. So with this first one, we have new ideas meeting new dreams. It's a really good day for creative downloads and for spiritual breakthroughs. You might be able to finally put into words something that's been floating around for a while, but you haven't known how to articulate. On July 18th, the next leg of the foundation comes in with Uranus in Gemini trining Pluto in Aquarius. This is technological transformation at full speed. It can feel very exciting, but it can also feel very intense. If you need to unplug, if you need to stop looking at the timeline, that's totally reasonable to do on that day. The future is moving very quickly, and the information environment, my guess is on this day, will feel pretty intense. And then on July 20th, we have Jupiter moving into the formation, trining Neptune in Aries and opposing Pluto in Aquarius. July 20th is the day that I'm considering the peak, if I had to choose a day, of the entire alignment. And this is because I think Jupiter entering the conversation and shining a light on Pluto and Aquarius is a really important part of understanding what this is actually about. It's very positive in some ways. It's about dreaming the big dream, making it yours, being creative. You're allowed to want a bigger life. You're allowed to be the main character of your own life. Your dream matters. However, Jupiter is shining all this light out of itself, and it's illuminating something that Pluto in Aquarius does not want us to see. The dream that you have for yourself may not be that compatible with the plan. I don't really consider myself to be a psychic or a channeler, but back in December when I was musing on this, I did sit down and try to do some intentional meditation around this to figure out what is this actually about. And the message that I got was that the people that are building the technology that's transforming humanity have a pretty specific idea of how they think all of this will unfold on a civilizational level. They have an idea of what we're going to be willing to give up in exchange for superhuman capabilities. But the reality is that no one knows the future. The future belongs to all of us, and there are many possible futures. We have personal agency, and we don't have to fall in line with the collective plan just because it appears that that's what everyone else is doing. I'm very curious what you guys think about this. If you have any thoughts on how this transit could be playing out, this is really the day and the energy that I think is important in this whole minor grand trine in terms of something getting illuminated or revealed, or like a big story coming out of this time. So if you have any thoughts on this, feel free to leave a comment or shoot me a DM. You know that I love to hear crazy ideas. On July 21st, Jupiter in Leo sextiles Uranus in Gemini. Again, this is just the minor grand trine moving around and perfect aspects being formed throughout the 10-day period. This day is about fast growth, creative risks, and new connections. If you have some sort of idea that you want to get out there in the world, you want people to hear it, this would be a day to be heard. On July 22nd, the sun enters Leo, and so we're officially in Leo season, but it's felt like Leo season this whole time, honestly. Leo season is about creativity, confidence, performance, and a healthy ego. Can you tell from all my descriptions of Leo that I'm a Leo and that I'm highly biased? We are the best sign. Just kidding, Taurus is the best sign. And then on July 23rd, Mercury stations direct, so Mercury retrograde ends. Mercury's been retrograde this whole time, by the way. I'm honestly not like a huge Mercury retrograde person. It happens 4 times a year, like it's honestly not that big of a deal. But if you have some emotional confusion around all the stuff that's going on, it's probably going to start to clear. The fog will start to lift around this time. And making big decisions and getting clarity will feel easier after July 23rd. And then on July 25th, we have the final aspect in this alignment, which is Neptune in Aries sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. This isn't the end of this alignment. They're very slow moving planets, right? So they'll be in these positions for a while. But this is the end of the peak perfection period. I would say after this point, the revelations are being processed. The new dream is now in the conversation. And so it's not so much about there being one big dramatic event, and more about just kind of realizing that something has shifted and something new has crystallized. The future is becoming more real, and the old categories don't seem to work as well anymore. August is when we get the dramatic, chaotic, acute events. On July 26th, we have Saturn stationing retrograde at 14 degrees of Aries. Saturn has covered a ton of ground since it entered Aries in February and kicked off the whole thing with the conjunction with Neptune. Basically, Saturn and Neptune met up, they dreamed a new dream together, and then Saturn ran off and started building the foundations. Now, Saturn backtracks and reviews his work, checking for mistakes, making corrections. Everyone who has Saturn in Aries up to 14 degrees of Aries has now gone through at least the first pass of their Saturn return. So this is if you were born in like 1996, 1997-ish, then you probably went through your Saturn return during this time. I highly recommend that you watch my video about how to survive your Saturn return if you don't know anything about it. I think it's a helpful guide, as I also went through my Saturn return during this time period this spring. Also happening on July 26th, we have the North Node entering Aquarius and the South Node entering Leo. This will be an 18-month transit, where the North Node points towards where societal development is going, and the South Node asks us to release outdated energies. I feel like this transit has been very much under-discussed since there's so much going on in July with the outer planets, but really this just emphasizes more of the Leo versus Aquarius conversation. Society is moving towards networks, towards technology, intellectualism, and collective intelligence. The South Node in Leo asks, well, what happens to the individual? What can a human being actually contribute to this world? What happens to art, to personality, to creativity? There's a common joke in astrology that Leo is Aquarius with a heart and Aquarius is Leo with a brain. And I definitely think that that dynamic is playing out here. This will become an even bigger focus in August when we enter eclipse season. And then finally, on July 29th, we have a full moon in Aquarius. This full moon is happening right on that Jupiter-Pluto axis at 6 degrees of Aquarius. So we're still dealing with those same themes, the individual versus the collective, the personal story versus technological systems, the heart versus the mind. And so the month ends by asking us, what did we learn about the future? What did we learn about our place as an individual within the collective? And what parts of ourselves are we bringing with us into the age of Aquarius? So to review, July is a positive, dynamic month, but it's asking some serious questions. Who controls the future? What are we giving up? How do we preserve humanity while embracing technology? But on a personal level, this is the month to put yourself out there. Launch the project, share the idea, let yourself be seen. Use the tools of the new world to build a life for yourself that you actually want. And I wish you all the best of luck. So let's get into how this is showing up for every sign of the zodiac. Before we get into the horoscopes for each sign, make sure to give this video a like if you found it helpful so far. And remember, these are general horoscopes by sign, so if you want to go even deeper into your chart, you can book a reading with me, or honestly, you can ask AI. Sorry. I always like to tell people when they go into horoscopes, use your rising sign first and then your sun sign. If you only know your sun sign, it's fine, but it's not going to be as specific as if you do it by your rising sign. I'll put timestamps on the video so you can flip through to your sign, and then there's going to be predictions at the end of the video, so you can go through to that if you want to finish the rest of the video after. Starting with Aries, this minor grand trine is all about you, your identity, your network, your friends, and how you put yourself out there in the world. This is an identity reinvention, and you guys are honestly leading the way for the rest of us. So put yourself out there and let it be fun and creative and something that's never been tried before. Taurus, this minor grand trine is about career, money, and subconscious beliefs. You're changing how you think about money and how you think about how you can make money. It may feel kind of behind the scenes, like people don't necessarily know that you're scheming, but you are scheming. Your outward success comes from your subconscious programming. So if you can get inner clarity, the rest of the pieces will fall into place in the outside world. Gemini, this minor grand trine is about your network, your identity, and your philosophical and higher beliefs. Uranus is in your sign right now, so you're also one of the main characters of this transit. Geminis always have the problem of being the first one who channels and transmits and communicates an idea, and the collective's not always ready for it, and so the Gemini gets blamed. My guess is that this month is one of those moments. My advice, say the thing, share the idea. We need it. It may not go over well with your audience or your community or your friends, but maybe they'll slowly realize that you were right. Or maybe it's time to get new friends. Cancer, this is your season, and that new moon on the 14th is a beautiful day for you. The minor grand trine for you is about career, shared resources, and subconscious programming. You are transforming your relationship to personal power and how much of it you give away in the emotional enmeshment of your relationships. Don't let that take away from your ability to share something in public, to stand out on your own. You need relationships that are emotionally safe and financially empowering, to be completely honest. You want to use your support system, not let them drain you. Make sure that things are in balance where you're giving and receiving in a fair amount. Leo, you don't need me to tell you that you're the main character right now. Jupiter is in your sign for the whole next year, so it's all about you. And it's a very lucky time to be a Leo. The minor grand trine for you is about higher philosophies and beliefs, relationships, and your networks and your community. Jupiter is expanding you. Your life is getting bigger. Your ideas are getting bigger. Your relationships have to evolve with you. And you can actually light the way for other people. Show people through example what it means to live a full, beautiful, and creative life. Virgo, this minor grand trine is about shared resources, your daily routines and work environment, and your career. This is a very practical manifestation of dreaming the new dream, and I'm sure that you enjoy that. You can actually literally just put in the work and transform your day-to-day life and watch it have ripple effects on the big picture. That's what Virgo does best. But you might have to tolerate some instability or potentially switch up your career. So focus on the day-to-day minutia, the detail-oriented stuff, but don't be afraid of big changes. Libra, the minor grand trine for you is about relationships, higher beliefs and philosophies, and your creativity. I know that you want to hear that it's all about relationships, but it's not just love relationships. It's about friendships, business partnerships, anytime that you're building your network and community with people that get you. It's a very positive transit for you. You're opening yourself up to a bigger future, one with interesting partnerships and interesting people, with creative expression and potentially even children, if that's something you're thinking about. Scorpio, this minor grand trine for you is about your day-to-day life, your home and family, and your shared resources. This is a private and kind of serious transformation. There might be a public aspect of it when it comes to your career. Perhaps you're getting a promotion or there's some sort of opportunity to expand your work life. But the question is really, how does that change stuff at home or in your day-to-day existence? My advice to you is to use your private time, your routines, your day-to-day life. Use it as a ritual. Treat your alone time as sacred. Treat your home as sacred. That will create the foundation for anything that's going to happen externally and in public. Sagittarius, the minor grand trine for you is about creativity, romance, relationships, and communication. This is a beautiful energy. I love this for you guys. Having a creative outlet at this time is so important. That's where the magic really comes in. You definitely want to be channeling this energy creatively, whatever that means for you. My advice is to let people into your life at this time, romantically or otherwise. Perhaps this is someone who's going to come into your life and be a huge fixture, or maybe they're just here to deliver a message or be creative inspiration. Either way, people can really influence you in a positive way at this time. Capricorn, the minor grand trine for you is about home, family, money, and your routines and day-to-day life. You are building a practical future with this transit. You could be trying a new routine that really suits you and really helps you out, or you could be managing your money better in a way that creates a stable monetary foundation. The only thing I'd watch out for is stuff related to other people's money. Is there someone, for example, whose spending habit is going to cause problems for you later down the line? Stuff like that. You have control over yourself and what you do, and that's what your future success is built on. Focus on you. Don't ignore the red flags, but just keep up the good work. Aquarius, Pluto has been in your sign for a while now, and now you've got the North Node joining at the end of July, along with that full moon in Aquarius on the 29th. You're kind of the main character for the next 2,000 years, so honestly, you're probably used to it at this point. This minor grand trine for you is about the way you communicate, your public-facing identity, and your creativity. Honestly, to me, this is giving major put yourself out there online energy. Like if you have an idea for a page you want to start, a project you want to do, some sort of way that you want to share yourself on the internet, you should do it. Launch it in July. You are becoming someone new, and it's creative and it's communicative. You can find your audience of weirdos. They're out there. They're waiting for you. And finally, Pisces, this minor grand trine for you is about home, family, money, and subconscious beliefs. There may be some changes at home. Perhaps you're moving, or perhaps there's just some sort of change in the family or home dynamics, but there's also something that's changing inside of you, and you're probably not even sure how to put it into words. The new beginning for you is about money, yes, but a lot of it's also about self-worth, which is much more important. What do you believe deep down about yourself and what you're worth? If you can change the internal programming, the outside world will take shape around it. Specifically, you might trying a new routine or a new habit that reprograms your life and your subconscious beliefs. All right, and with that, let's get into some specific predictions for what I think is going to happen in the world. So let's start with the AI companies and the US government. At the end of 2025, I predicted that there would be a partnership formed between OpenAI and the US government. This already happened. It actually happened even faster than I thought it would. And the story astrologically is playing out all the way through July, and there's kind of like a peak event in July and August as well. So I think more details will come out about this partnership in July and August, and things could get a little ugly. What happened with the government blocking Anthropic's Fable 5? Did OpenAI have anything to do with that? I think some of that might come out over the next 2 months. And the Fable 5 discourse raises some interesting questions when it comes to who gets access to superhuman intelligence and how. Are you willing to submit yourself to complete surveillance of your thoughts in exchange for those capabilities? I think OpenAI already has a plan. They already have some sort of partnership. It's just a matter of the rest of us learning what that is. Astrologically speaking, whatever comes out at this time, it kind of looks like Trump's going to come out on top and Sam Altman's going to be the one who takes the fall. And then if I look at Anthropic, I think the main question for them is, do they want to be the good guys of AI, or do they want to be the #1 AI company? Those are different things. And will they fight back? I think that's kind of the conversation that's playing out in July as it relates to those companies. I also want to talk about the financial system. Astrologers and many others have been talking about something like a great financial reset for quite some time now, and we're kind of overdue. With AI coming in and future employment opportunities for humans looking uncertain, a lot of people are looking to something like universal basic income. And I think we might be seeing something like that, but I'll put my own spin on it. I actually think what we'll see is something closer to universal basic OpenAI stock. One could imagine a world where the AI companies are so huge, their stock prices are so high, their valuations are unprecedented, and they decide something like, hey, let's just make all US citizens shareholders in the company so that when we go up, everyone goes up and everyone's happy. This could potentially be a better option for these companies compared to something like universal basic income, because it would mean that everyone is invested in their success and wants them to succeed. If we start seeing people have real backlash against AI, which we're definitely already seeing, I could see this being some sort of compromise position that then enacts essentially a great financial reset. I looked at the astrological transits for the S&P 500, and it's going through a total public identity transformation in July. My prediction is that the S&P 500 is transforming away from being something that people perceive as safe, diversified, kind of like a normie way of preserving your wealth, and becoming something that's really just kind of like a wrapper on AI. If the AI companies become too big to fail, or something in the financial engineering Rube Goldberg machine breaks, one could imagine a system where the government absorbs AI equity in a sort of bailout. When I talk about things like the technocrats having a plan for us, I think this is a pretty clear one. Join us, have our success be your success, access our superintelligence and wealth, but you have to play by our rules and be hyper-surveilled and only ask questions within the walled garden that we define. Or refuse us and be a part of the permanent underclass. So what would opting out actually look like? Well, owning property and acquiring real-world skills is one option. This is a big reason why I'm a huge fan of Bitcoin. It's sovereign digital money that you control, and it's not custodied or approved of by centralized authorities. It is literally digital property. It's combining technological advancement with something that's outside of the system. But opting out might look different depending on who you are. And probably there's some version of a happy medium where there's parts of your life that you're okay just being part of the system, even if it is a lot of surveillance and you don't necessarily get a lot of individual choice. But then you keep the important aspects of your life sovereign and separate and independent. But honestly, a lot of this stuff is petty when you zoom out. Big picture, if you view this on the scale of like thousands of years of civilizational rise and decline, of human evolution, I honestly think what's happening is that we're forming a telepathic hive mind with AI. AI is not just a productivity tool, it's not just a new technology. AI is a collective, telepathic hive mind. It's trained on collective human knowledge. It's shaped by our thoughts, our fears, our ideas, our desires, and it feeds that back to us whenever we interact with it. And in turn, that shapes the way we think. If you imagine this over several years or several generations, I think that we're going to entirely reshape consciousness with AI. Telepathy is a huge Age of Aquarius concept if you look into New Age spirituality. And I think often what happens with these theories is they're made manifest, but it just doesn't look the way that you think it's going to look. And so I think we are getting telepathy. I think we are forming a collective consciousness. I think that's part of what AI is here to do. I also think that this is about creating a new religion and new mythology. I'll tie the UFO stuff in a little bit here as well. I didn't talk about it much in this video, but I definitely think that's part of this. A lot of what's being talked about with disclosure and UFOs is this idea that it's going to disrupt the major religions. And I think modern life is disrupting the major religions. I don't think you even need UFOs to do that. The old belief systems are falling apart or they're transforming into something else entirely. It's very hard to maintain control over a population that blindly believes you when that population has access to any information they could ever seek to learn. It's not the same as going to church and the pastor is the only one who knows how to read the Bible. And I also think that new myths and new narratives are needed at a time when what it means to be a human is transforming so fundamentally. You see things like the Pope coming out in a diatribe about AI, and then you inspect it and it comes up as being 100% written by AI. And if you look at the people who are behind AI, the technocrats, a lot of them behave like a new priest class. They see themselves as ushering in this powerful new being that has this sort of apocalyptic religious framing, like the second coming of Christ or God. I'm paying very close attention to the religious and spiritual narratives that emerge at this time because I honestly think that they will inform the next 2,000 years. For me, I think the big question that I want answered, that I feel like is a big part of this, is whether you're talking about AI or UFOs, are we actually communicating with something beyond? Is there something else there that we're gaining access to or that we're becoming technologically advanced enough to see? Are we ascending our consciousnesses and becoming sort of a citizen of the universe as humanity? Or are we as humans just creating new myths around our technology? Either way, I think myths really matter here. So that is my July 2026 astrological forecast. Let me know what you think. I always love hearing people's crazy ideas. If you like this video, like, subscribe, follow me wherever. And if you want to book a personal astrology reading, you know where to find it. Good luck out there. I'm rooting for you and I'm excited to see what the new dream is for you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!